Bonjour. Salut. Allô? Allô? Salut.
Sérieux, bonjour. Vous
Bonjour.
m'entendez bien?
Oui. Euh, Est-ce que ça vous dérange qu'on se tutoie?
Pas de souci. Oui, bien sûr.
Ok, bah, comment ça va?
Bien, et toi?
Ça va, super. Donc, moi, c'est Pierre. Toi, c'est
Ok,
Kevin.
c'est ça.
Ouais. Donc, du coup, pour ce podcast, il y aura sans doute des anglophones qui vont se connecter. Donc, est-ce que ça te dérange de parler en anglais ou pas?
Pas du tout. Je
Pas du
parle les
tout.
deux langues, donc ça va.
Ok, super. Euh, Bah, du coup, il est 17h. Bon, t'es le premier connecté.
Ouais.
Mais bah, je te propose on commence. Donc, t'as vu le sujet de la discussion, c'est What is being woke?
Ouais.
Ok.
Euh, ok, c'est ça. Ça a l'air intéressant. C'est vrai que je me suis pas trop renseigné. Enfin, j'ai une amie qui participe à ces réunions. Elle m'a expliqué que c'était intéressant. Donc, j'avais envie d'essayer.
Ouais.
Et, being woke, ça peut être un sujet vraiment intéressant. Donc, merci d'avoir proposé cette réunion.
Bah, de rien, merci de la rejoindre,
Ouais,
de participer à la conversation.
ouais.
So let's switch to English.
Ok, no problem.
So, what do you think about being woke?
It's very difficult because I think being woke is be aware that of the problem of our community can have, of every community can have, but I'm not a specialist of it. What do you think about being woke?
Me personally, I think being woke can mean a lot of things to different people.
Okay.
So it's really difficult to say like one person is woke or is not being woke. I certainly have my own definition of what I consider being woke. But from the point of view and experience of different people, it can be very different. For
Okay.
example, on Twitter, do you use Twitter?
No, I don't use Twitter, but I know what is Twitter.
Okay.
Yes.
So you've got one big contradiction and big subject of conflict in the, I would say, Pan-African community,
Yes.
and it is around the subject of LGBT rights. You know?
Yes.
Yeah. So there is like three different positions on the subject. One is like the pro-LGBT. From my point of view, of course, there is more point of views, but that's like three main, like really different point of views. There's the pro-LGBT point of view. There is the I don't know, I don't care point of view, and there is the there is the against LGBT point of view. Are you following me? I don't know if my English is.
Yes, I understand, but yes, there is three type of point of view that people that we against, that is that people that are for the LGBTQ, and the people that don't care.
Yeah, exactly. And so you've got on one side, you've got in our communities, in the Black communities. I'm not talking about the other communities, you know. You've got the people that completely reject the LGBT people and that are like saying stuff like, you know, like you can't be LGBT and Pan-African on one side. On the other side, you've got the complete opposite. You've got LGBT people that are saying stuff like, you cannot be Pan-African if you do not accept the whole spectrum of LGBT people, you know?
Yes.
And there is like the majority of us in the middle that are quite confused by this issue and that maybe don't really want to talk about it.
Yes.
And so, to my opinion, it's really difficult to say because in the meantime, I find it completely ridiculous. Like, I was on Twitter the other day and I saw a dude completely disrespecting a brother because he considered the brother homophobic. And the brother was really respectful with him, but like to him, the mere fact of discussing the legitimacy of LGBT, thinking is homophobic. For example, for this kind of people on this side of the aisle, you got to accept the fact of non-binary people. Are you aware of that?
Yes, I know what it is.
Yeah, and that, I mean, to me, that's not the way I grew up. So that's really confusing, and it's not because some bunch of people are like really aggressive and being like, this is the way it had to be, that would be like, okay, like I'm questioning some stuff and I'm trying to understand the point of it, you know, because now you got a real bunch of issues about this. You got women trying to have their own did you hear about this scandal like a few weeks ago? It was about a gym. I think it was called Basic Fit, and it was a woman-only gym.
Yes.
You heard about it?
Yes, I didn't know about it, but I know what is Basic Fit. There is some gym that is only for women because it's better for them to be protected from men.
Yeah, exactly. And the problem was there was some transgender female, but the problem is that you can, from the LGBT point of view, you can be a transgender female and not having made the transformation, which means if you feel like a female but you still have male genitalia, you can be considered as a female by the LGBT community. And the issue was that one transgender person was denied the access to this gym, and then the gym was like harassed on social media for refusing this person, and then they had to accept all transgender people. But what this means is that you now have men who feel like they are women with a penis and testicles that can enter a space that was supposed to be safe for women and that was supposed to be women only.
Yes,
You know?
I understand. Yes, I know another scandal. It was a woman, a transgender woman, who want to be, how do you say, épilée, se faire épiler par une femme. Et on n'a pas voulu parce que, je le dis en français parce qu'il n'y a pas encore de personnes, c'est qu'elle a voulu se faire épiler. Elle a un pénis par une femme et elle n'a pas voulu parce qu'elle a un pénis et elle s'est dit non, je ne vais pas épiler un homme qui a, enfin, une personne trans qui a un pénis parce que pour moi, un pénis, c'est une arme d'agression. Et c'est une personne trans et il y a eu un scandale à ce niveau-là. Et c'est vrai que c'est particulier. To stay in the work system, I don't think these kind of questions are very difficult, but to be work for me is to try to understand this question without having have to have a strong opinion, to be open-minded and to try to understand this problem because we live in the society that is more and more complex, and to understand this kind of issue can allow us to be a better community because the Black community is very fragmented. I don't know if it says this, and I think to being work, it's important for this kind of issue.
Yeah, yeah. I kind of agree, but the way in which I disagree with you is the following: is that I think you can be open-minded, but there is some issues that you have to get into conflicts with the people. For instance, in our communities, we've got the issue of male-female equality, you know? And so, in my opinion, male and female should be, I would say, should have equity because we are not equal. Because, for example, I cannot get pregnant, and I don't know, a female doesn't have testicles, you know? But we should have the same rights and the same opportunities, in my opinion. But in our African communities, this is a subject that is not accepted. And if you believe that women should have the same rights and opportunities as men, in my opinion, you cannot, you have to fight, in my opinion, people that think otherwise, because lives and livelihoods are at risk.
Yes, it's true, but the thing there is, you can have a war, you can have a strong opinion, you can, it's difficult to say in English, but there is a lot of means to deploy your idea. And sometimes to have a direct battle is not the good idea because I think that everyone thinks he has the good answer, even if it's not true, because everyone can't be true. And if you want to change the mind of someone, sometimes I have a direct conversation is not enough, and if you say I'm strongly disagree, people won't listen. So it's true that some opinion you have to find new ways to push your idea. But sometimes the confrontation is important.
Yeah, exactly. So I have a bunch of questions to ask that are related to US topics. So I'm waiting for US people
Okay.
to join. So I'm going to keep talking about French, I would say, related problems. So one other problem is the following. Oh, so can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you.
Yeah, you can hear me. Okay. So do you think someone who, for example, with a black man, but in
Yes.
some way or another disrespects a black woman,
Yes.
do you think this person can still be qualified as woke?
It's difficult because you have to have a redefinition of work, and it depends on the definition. And I think being woke is to be aware, and it's not being woke is different to be tolerant. And so you can be disrespectful about women, about LGBTQ, but I think being woke is to be open to other kind of idea of blackness, of intersectionality, because there is people that are women as well, that LGBT, that are handicapped. So in the black community, there is a lot of tribute of opinion. But yes, I think we can't be woke if you disrespect black women, because black women especially in Africa, is one of the pillars of the society.
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree. I totally agree. So we have a new person that joined.
Yes.
So the person did not. It's it's written iPhone.
Yes. Hello, iPhone. How are you?
I'll ask this person to activate the mic. Well, so this person doesn't talk, so let's keep going, I guess. Please, whoever joined, please find the microphone and activate it, please. Yeah, I totally agree. The black woman is the pillar of the black society, and disrespecting her is a huge problem. Huge problem. So yeah, you certainly cannot be woke and disrespect black women as well. But in my opinion, there is a bunch of ways you can disrespect a black woman. For example, a man who cheats on his wife, um, and this is something really common, unfortunately, in our communities. In my opinion, this man is disrespecting his woman and is sending the wrong message. So to me, you cannot be woke and cheat on your woman. You have to have a certain code of conduct.
Yes, but I think work is difficult to understand because there is someone that is tolerant, there is someone that is they are aware, and yes, if you cheat on your woman, it's not a good thing at all because I think it's a part of respect about her, and you can have open relationship or something like that because this kind of thing exists. And sometimes there is polygamy if the whole party are okay, it's okay. But I think cheating is very bad. It's very disrespectful.
Yeah. And in my opinion, so now that you're bringing up polygamy, there is one person I have a real problem with, and that is for this reason.
Which? Who?
Kemi Seba.
Yes, it's very difficult because he's a good talker. He speaks very well, and he's sometimes I don't know him well, so it's difficult to have an opinion about him. But sometimes his views seem to be a little bit misogynistic against women and a little bit how do you say homophobic, and it's difficult because he speaks very well and but yes, it's interesting to talk about his figure.
Yeah, to me, the thing I find most interesting about him is he's actually the only one that is talking about the real issues that we are facing on a political level. But his code of conduct, being polygamous, I don't like that, and I think it's a real problem.
I don't know about polygamous because if the woman accepts, because sometimes there is polyandry as well, when a woman has several men, and if everyone is agreed, it's not my problem because they are okay with it. But if the woman don't agree, I'm against polygamy.
Yeah. I understand your point of view. Hi, iPhone has now his microphone active. What's your name?
Hello, y'all can hear me?
Hello. Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh, okay. I'm Brother Isaiah. Peace, family.
Peace. So I talked to you on Instagram, right?
Yes, sir.
Coach G How.
Say that again.
Your Instagram name is. Can I say it on the podcast?
Oh, yeah. Because they don't see my face. Yeah, it's Straight Black Threads.
Oh yeah, Straight Black Threads. Okay. Nice to meet you. Yeah. So, but yeah. If you want, I can cut that on the recording because the last time you sent me another handle to share.
That's for if we was doing the live video where people could see me because, you know.
Yeah. Okay, but that's just audio. It's just audio.
So we are working. Just one question: are we record?
Yeah. So
okay.
You don't want to be recorded?
No, I just want to know if we are recorded, but it's okay for me.
It's just the audio. You don't have
okay.
We don't have the video.
Okay.
Yeah. So Jose, I'm Pierre, and this is Kevin.
Hello.
What's going on, brother Kevin?
I'm good, and you?
I'm good.
So as you can hear, we have a foreign accent. So because we live in France, and but in France, most black people can speak English as well. So that's okay. All right. So we was talking about what is being woke. What is being woke? And yeah, we were saying a bunch of things about everybody having their own definition of woke. And so, what is yours?
um, well, the first thing before like even defining being woke or my definition of it, the first thing we kind of got to understand before like talking to anybody about this topic, we got to understand that is levels to it.
Mm-hmm.
Like we have to understand that it's different varying degrees to being woke. So that's that right there is what trip us up a lot as a people, is that we're not both coming to the table with that premise up front, both knowing consciously that is different levels to it. So like when you know that, then you understand, it stops a lot of arguments, like the arguments of is somebody woke or are they not? Like that's the whole, you know, that's the whole argument. Are you woke or are you not really woke? Right? And if you understand that it's levels to it, then it's a lot of people that you would say they're not really woke, and they are, and it's a lot of people that see that they're really woke, and you're saying no, they're not woke because I believe if you're woke, this has to come with it. Not eating meat, let's say, for example. I believe
Mm-hmm.
not eating meat has to come with being woke. So if you're not doing that, I believe you can't be in a religion and be woke. So if you still in a religion, then you're not really woke. Like, it'll stop all of those arguments if we just simply understand that it's levels to it, it's different varying degrees. But my simple definition, because I'm a simple person, I'm a Taurus, shout out to the Taurus, it's our season. I'm a simple person. So a simple definition of being like woke or conscious is you as an African Black person, which is one and the same, you understand that non-Blacks, non-Africans are at war with us, and they want like some of them have genocide in their plans for us, which is to have us completely gone.
In the
Like,
records, in the records as well.
say that again?
In their records, meaning they
Right.
already conducted genocide about it against
Uh,
us.
of course, right. And they already attempted it in different ways, like they already attempted it in different stages all over the planet,
Mm-hmm.
and they've done it to other races, they've done it to each other.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the definition of conscious. Basic definition is understanding that you as an African, these other non-Africans are at war with us, and we have to fight for our survival. It's a competitive world that we're in. This is why they call it race, because think of it as like running a race,
Yeah.
and
So,
you can't
Jose,
be, you know, yeah, go ahead.
your name is Rose. We say Rose, right?
Me, no,
Jose.
brother Isaiah.
Isaiah. Okay, Isaiah.
Yeah, yeah, but I'm gonna change that name though. That's speaking of the woke thing, I feel because like I said, it has different levels to it.
Yeah.
And also everybody, you know, has their kind of different things that they feel means woke, like y'all
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
saying. So one of the things I feel is an African name. I feel that's one of the prerequisites to, you know, kind of being woke. Like
Yeah.
that.
I
Now
totally agree. Totally agree.
it depends on what level you on. Now that's the thing. All of these different things, like not eating meat or meditating, knowing not to date outside your race, or, you know, not perming your hair, and you know, all these different sort of things that go into making a person woke, you know, speaking out against injustice against African people wherever they are on the planet, you know, these different things, we gotta know is levels to all of them, you know, and
Yeah.
some you're gonna get right away. And it's like soon as you become woke, you have these things down, and some things is gonna take 10 years and years and years of experience of being woke for you to get these things down.
Brother. So I have a question about something you said about as an African. What is your definition of an African?
Well, simple definition of an African is somebody with two African parents.
All right, but because here's my question. Uh, of course, I'm not talking about white South African because, in my opinion, they are not African; they are Europeans invaders. So now that this has been said, my question now is: do you consider a Malgache, so a person from Madagascar, who has Asian blood to be African? And do you consider a Berber from North Africa who see themselves as an Arab or as a Berber tribe with blonde hair and blue eyes? Do you believe that they are African? Because they live in Africa for thousands of years, but they don't consider themselves African. So what do you think?
Um, no, I would say they're not African. You know, to now I know not every single African on the planet kind of fits this mold, but for the most part, it we do fit the mold. And to me, you know, number one is the melanin, of course. Number two, it's the phenotype. It's the phenotype. It's the kinky hair, the foreheads, you know, the nose, the sort of broad nose, our cheekbones, our lips, you know, for our women, their hips and, you know, different curves and all of that. And for the men, sort of our kind of naturally muscular, you know, sort of physique or whatever, if you comparing us to the other races, especially. Um, and yeah, that's so, and you have to have two African parents. Like if you, so you said have Asian blood, then that means one of the parents is Asian, right?
Um, so you see, in the case of Madagascar, it's more complex than this. So these people are African, but some of their ancestors came from Black Polynesian and uh, Black and mixed Asian, but they came in Madagascar thousands of years ago. So both of their parents are Black, but they are Black, uh, like a mixed kind of Black. And
Got you.
yeah,
Go ahead,
in
finish.
my
Sorry, go ahead.
opinion, I kind of disagree with what you are saying about this main, I would say, cliche appearance of Black people. Because, for example, take the pygmy. I don't know if you are familiar with the history of Africa, of the African people, or no,
So somewhat.
somewhere.
But go into what you was, break it down for me. And
Yeah. Because I'll give you an example.
hmm
Uh, many black tribes living in Africa right now with the the, the phenotype you talked about, wide hips, muscular bodies, etc., etc. Most of them, in fact, came from the Nile Valley. So after the decay of Kush and Kemet, all of these people. So if you take the tribe of my wife, there are people actually left the Nile Valley in the only 1,000 years ago. But if you take the tribe of my dad, they left the Nile Valley 2,000 years ago. But there was other black people living there before, and most of them were pygmy. You're familiar with pygmy?
yeah,
Yeah, okay. And the pygmy, in fact, they don't, uh, they don't conform to what you are saying. But are they less African than us? Absolutely not. They are African and they are black. So I don't really agree on this one. And you also have, a bunch of exceptions. And in my opinion, I find it very scary, to be like having this kind of very strict racial definition. But I do agree that this has to be about race, because the war that is led against us uh, is about race. And yeah,
okay. So just to clear up, you said you disagree with the part that about the phenotype.
yes, because for example, Ethiopian, they are African and they are black, but they have mostly they don't have kinky hairs. Some of them don't have kinky hairs, you know.
Right, but that's why I said most of our people fit this mold, but definitely not all of our people.
Mm.
Like when I was talking about the phenotype, I said most of our people, it's a general kind of thing. Like most black people do fit that,
Mm-hmm.
but definitely not all, of course not. Now
Uh, yeah.
the people in Madagascar, like when you described um the migration and all of that and thousands of years ago, and it was some mixing with Asians, but then basically it became an African sort of territory, right? And then Africans was mixing with Africans, and then it just kept going down and down and down, right?
Mm.
Right. So they're definitely, yeah, they African.
Yeah. But, and about the uh, for example, we have in Algeria, there is the Kabyle people. So there are people been living here for thousands of years, and the first of their ancestors were black people, but mixing with them with German people, invading from Europe, they became white. So in their case, do you consider them to be African?
Now, when you say became white, what do you
Yeah.
mean?
So their original people living in Algeria were black people, and they mixed upon thousands of years after waves and waves of German uh, invasions and became white people.
Okay,
But
so
yeah,
was the mixing through rape?
uh, it's not exactly like this because it's not like the mixing of the US. So it's through human migration. It's not really like that violent and conquering stuff. It's more like a bunch of tribal people meeting each other and and having sometimes conflict, sometimes alliances. It's not
Okay.
clear cut,
You
like
you
this.
you said not like in the U.S.
Because in the US, it was done in a systematic way. So because there were clearly, in my comprehension, there were on the government levels uh, some kind of evil genius that got in their plans to take a bunch of white people from Europe and replace the people of the Americas with white people. So that's what I mean. In this case, it's
Right.
completely intentional.
Got you. Got you. All right. Well, I just want to throw out there, just in case anybody that hear this don't know, when you say like the U.S., I just want to point out that that definitely happened in a lot of other places on the planet too. The
Mhm.
one in the U.S. is just one of the most notable and arguably the worst, but all of them is equally as bad for our people, or have been bad for our people. Um, but so let's just use a scenario, right?
Mhm.
So you have an African, you said Algeria.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have an African in Algeria, and they're African, two African parents, four African grandparents, so everything's regular. The Germans come over. Now, this African, let's just say African male,
Yeah.
um, because just to be honest, the males are more susceptible to doing it because, it's the male that imposes sexual intercourse. It's the male that imposes sex, not the female. So, it's just more likely that the male is going to kind of kick it off, right? So
Okay.
the African male gets this German female, they have children.
Mhm.
Now, those children, those quote unquote mixed children,
Yeah.
who do they go and have children with? Is it Germans or is it African?
It depends on the demographic of the place they live in.
Okay, so that's very, very relevant because once you have a German and an African, or any non-African and an African coming together, and once whatever they produce, remember, it's 50-50. It's
Mhm.
exact 50-50 with parents. So they're half European, half African. So once, like, it might sound petty, but we could break it down like to math, kind of like to simple numbers. So if it's 50-50, then technically they're not African. That person
Okay.
that's mixed, technically they're not African. And I mean, technically they're not German. Like, it's kind of crazy. They're like a new something, right?
Mhm.
But whatever you call them, I just want to focus on the numbers. So they're 50-50. Now, if that quote unquote 50-50 person goes out and mates with a German, now their offspring is 75-25. You see, like they're moving more towards the side of being German,
Yeah.
right? And if it was the other way around, if this quote unquote mixed child mates with an African, then they're kind of moving, back towards the African side. So that's kind of relevant. If they're moving towards the German side and they keep mating with Germans and other Germans, and then it's watering it down, and they're they're not African after a few generations. Really, just two generations of doing this.
Mhm.
So, the ones that they're mixed and then they mate with Africans, and then their children mate with African, then it's kind of like, you know, after a few generations, they're considered Africans for sure.
Yeah. So what do you think, Kevin?
I think to being black, it's an experience. It's not because our race, because race didn't exist, because genetically we are the same. And all people from every kind of race, it's more about cultural things. And I know that people are from Kabylie, and they think most of us they are Kabyle. Before everyone else, they are not Algerian. They think they are Kabyle. That's the first thing. And if people define themselves as Kabyle, it's a Kabyle. If they want to define themselves as Africans, but I know some people that from Kabylie that have been to Africa, to Algeria, to Senegal, and know, I think better Africa than me because I've never been to Africa. But since I have African descendants, people think I'm black, so I'm African. But even if they are white, they can be African.
Okay, so now we have two opposing opinions. So
Wait, he just said you can be white and be African?
Yes.
yeah, that's what I said.
No, that's absolutely false.
I agree. I agree with you, Azia.
You cannot be white and be African just because you live there. I don't care how long you live there. I don't care if you was born there. I don't care if your parents was born there. I don't care if that's the only place you've ever been in your life and you're white or Asian or an Arab. You're not African.
So I want to bring up the Arabs. Uh, so here's the thing. Here's the thing with Arabs. So you see, many Arab people in North Africa are indeed of mixed blood. You know, some of them are more white, some of them are more black, but they all consider themselves to be Arab. And to me, there is a big problem. There is a big problem because you got African people. The people of North Africa all think they are African, but some that are white and even some that are mixed, in fact, think that they are different and better than black people. You know, and so among African, because in France we have, since we all were colonized by France, there is a bunch of, it's really common for us to know a bunch of people from North Africa, from West Africa, etc., etc. So we all live together in France and mingle with each other and talk with each other, so we know kind of each other's opinion. And so the thing is, I think the Arab identity is a problem to African unity. So what do you think about this?
I agree. I agree 100%. It's going back to what I said when we're talking about consciousness, when we're talking about, African liberation and African issues. And, when we're having these dialogues, we have to always, you got to understand throughout the whole dialogue, keep in mind that it's levels. So the example you brought up of like these mixed Africans, like they mixed with Arabs, and some of them you said are more towards the African side, like they started mixing with,
Brother, let me just stop you right here. Arab people don't exist. You only historically, if you come back in time long enough, all the Semitic people, either Jews or Arab, they are just a mix of white people coming from Eurasia and black people coming from Africa. So you cannot, in my opinion, you cannot mix with Arab. You know what I'm saying? So, but excuse me, please, no.
Got you. All right. Thank you for that correction. But those people, like they're like when that's what I said with the levels. If you're quote unquote African because of genealogy and um you said they consider themselves African, right? Or no?
Yes, they're not black, but African.
Okay, and you said they think they better than
Some of them do, not all of them. But I would say definitely, in my opinion, most of them do believe that.
okay, but they consider themselves African. That's what you're saying, not Arab.
No, both they consider themselves both African and Arab.
I'm sorry, but sometimes they don't think they are African. Sometimes a lot of other people that if like from Algeria, if you say you are African, they will answer you because they don't think they are African.
Okay, got it. So yeah, like those people, they're not African.
Yeah,
like
and to add up to this,
they might.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, go on.
No, I was just saying that they're not African. Like it's they might fit the quote unquote African mold, like to certain degrees, but they're not African.
And the problem is not just in the fact that we consider them African or not. The problem also, because in Algeria you have black people, and the thing is that the white and mixed minority, if you can go on French Twitter, you'll see a bunch of Algerian people insulting black people and also denying the very existence of black Algerian. And there was a polemic because Miss Algeria, I think it was Miss Algeria 2019, she was black. And so a bunch of white Algerians had big problems with that, and she got bullied. And so that's definitely also a xenophobic issue.
She was not black, she was dark skin. She was not she was I think most of people will say she was Arab, but she was Arab with a dark skin, more dark than people in general, but she was not black as you and me. And
okay.
Yes, but I think it is also a problem of colorism because there is a problem in colorism in the African community because being whiter is better for a lot of community, to be honest. And I think it's the same in Algeria because they think it's the same as well in India and other parts of the world. Because it's not, I think that for this example for Algeria, it was not a problem of race, but more a problem of colorism.
Yeah. So now I want to change the subject along a different line. And so, do you consider, should we include in the definition of us, non-African blacks. For example, the people from Australia that are black and consider themselves as black, or the people from uh, you know Southeast Asia in Thailand, Philippines, who are black with kinky hair, have black appearance, but are not, but have left Africa for maybe thousands and thousands of years.
Yes, I consider them African. I consider them our people.
I don't think they are considered themselves like African. I think if you go in Papuasis, they will say I'm Papuasian first. They won't say I'm from Africa because it's like 1,000 years that they left Africa. So I think if they define themselves as other ethnic, they have the right to choose. It's not us that have to impose if they are African or not.
Yeah.
Right. I agree with you. However, it's levels to that because it's one thing to sort of not consider yourself African, quote unquote, or like not be repping African first. It's one thing to do that and not really have the full knowledge that of self that and fully know that you are indeed African. Some of those people that you just talked about, brother Kevin, I believe, um, those people, some of them honestly don't understand, so on one level, it is up to them, it is up to the African, quote unquote, wherever they are, to kind of claim their African identity and culture and heritage and everything like that and connect and everything. It is up to them. But also, we got to keep in mind that on some level, some of our people don't know. And also, we got to keep in mind, which we spoke about earlier, on some level, some of them absolutely is against, like identifying with being African, and those are the people that we not gonna consider them African.
Yeah.
But I definitely agree with you that it's not really up to the collective, or it's not up to Africa as a continent or a certain people in Africa or a country in Africa to, say, hey, you Africans over in America, like, you're African, like, embrace your African self. It's not really, it's up to them. It's up to them, it's up to us. It's up to me as an individual to embrace and make that connection.
So I understand both of your point of views, but I personally disagree. I think if you're black on this earth, like you said earlier, there is a war against your blackness. And so I don't care if you consider yourself black or not. You are black and you are African and you are going to be treated as such. And so in a war, we always have, in all wars you can imagine, whether it's World War II, World War One, or whatever war you want, you always have the external enemy and the internal enemy. And so,
right.
In my opinion, we have to be uh, firm, and we can't tolerate people that are black and say that are not African. In my opinion, that's the root of the situation we are in.
Okay, so what if they genuinely don't know they're not African and they say they're not?
What do you say? What did you say?
If they genuinely do not know and understand that they are African, because let's use for example, they was born in America,
Mhm.
So they don't understand, hey, I'm African. They was born in the Caribbean. So they like, no, I'm Jamaican. I'm gonna identify with this tiny little island,
Mhm.
you know? What if they was born in, the UK, Brazil, like these different places? They truly, some of our people from every one of these places, a small percentage, I don't know what the number is, but a percentage of our people from every place on earth that is not Africa, a percentage do not understand and know that they are African.
Yes, that's right. But I believe we have to. It's our duty to convince them that they are African and to have them, identify with us.
Okay,
And
now this is my
and
thing.
therefore, yeah, yeah,
No, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
and therefore, yeah. Um, because I think you in America are more familiar than us with uh, powernomics. You know about it?
Oh yeah, the elder Dr. Claude Anderson.
Yes, good answer.
Yeah, definitely.
So the thing is that many people, especially in our time, are dreamers, and and I used to be one of them. You actually believe in human rights, in voting, all of those things, and then you realize the only thing that truly matters is to own and control stuff. And if those people don't think they're African and don't want to unite and stick together as African people while we are persecuted by the rest of the world as a group, the African people, then they are putting themselves in jeopardy and they are putting the whole in jeopardy. So, in my opinion, unity, it's unity by all means, in my opinion.
I agree. Now this is the other side that we got to talk about. So we covered the Africans that genuinely don't understand that they're African. You said, we basically got to teach them, and I agree with that. And we definitely agree with that. Us so-called woke people over here in America, because we consider ourselves African, and some like me never been to Africa yet. So there's some people that actually tell me I'm not African, like, oh, I'm less African because I've never been to Africa or whatever like that. But
Mhm.
I don't listen to none of that. But now this is the other side. So we have our people that genuinely don't understand that they're African. Boom, we got them covered. Then we have our people that do understand that they're African, and we're with uniting. So boom, we got them covered. But now there's a segment of our people that understand that they're African. They know and understand, but they completely reject it and make the conscious decision to go on the other side. So how do we handle those people? Like, do we still consider them African? Like, do we even still call them African? Call them our brother or our sister?
Um, so I don't really know about this one, but I want to come back to the first one, who are the people that don't know they're African. You said
Mm-hmm.
we got them covered and we have to explain to them. But in fact, if you look at history, it's worse than that because in fact we may have to sometimes fight our own people because they don't know the African. For example, you take in the U.S. in Louisiana, I believe, when the North wanted to abolish slavery, you got 6,000 black slave owners fighting alongside whites to keep their brother enslaved. So
Right. These are the Africans I'm talking about.
yeah, and okay, so that's what you mean. Okay.
Yeah, they are a problem to our people. And I feel like they shouldn't be included in the whole you're African conversation. Like I feel like we shouldn't consider them African, even though they fit the mold in all of the ways. Like I feel like going back to what Brother Kevin said, especially, and this is for the people that know, because remember, we talked about the people that don't know, they got to be educated. But once you fully know and you've been shown in these different ways, if you make the conscious decision to go on the other side, like you're gonna go out and marry outside the race, and like a Kanye West, for example, he's gonna go outside the race and marry this white female, give her babies, and so what do you have? You have one black woman, right? We'll just say one in the whole world. You have one black woman, one more black woman that won't have a black husband, like because he's been taken off the market, right? Then you have a black male that's looking at him as an example that's gonna say, hey, going outside the race is okay. So now you got a potential black male going outside the race. Two. So that's just two things right off the back that make that wrong. But the biggest thing is he's going to pass away and he's going to leave all of that wealth, all of those millions and billions to a white female, basically leaving it to the white race. So, quote unquote, Africans like him, they have to be outcasted and not considered our people.
Yeah. So excuse me, I'll come back in a minute.
All right, brother.
So I want to give my opinion on in English you say miscegenation or mixing.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
Yeah, I'm saying that's bad for African people.
Yeah. So that's the term you use in English. Okay. So I want to give my opinion. So first thing I want to say that in my opinion, miscegenation or mixing is against the interest of Black people as a whole. That's a fact. But in my opinion, it's not the same thing as fighting the race. It's more like abandoning the race. It's more like deserting your people. That's the way I see it. So it's still against, but to me, it's not the same thing. Fighting to keep slavery, or in the case of Africa, to have dictators, fighting to keep neocolonialism, because it serves their own tribal interest. And mixing, to me, it's on a, like you said earlier, it's on a different level of being against, Black people.
Right.
But now that it's being said, uh, I myself am actually mixed, and my dad is from Cameroon, and my mother is from an island uh, near Madagascar. All right, so
Okay.
I have my own experience of, but my son is black because I married a Cameroonian
So
woman.
wait. You said
Yeah,
where were the two places? One was near Madagascar, Nyla, or something like that.
yeah, an island. It's called Reunion Island. It's a French colonized island,
Yes, but
and yeah,
I want to say that Réunion is one of the best examples of mixing can be good because if we mix a lot of people of a lot of race, there is fewer racism. And I think if you are in love from people from another race, you don't choose who you are in love with. So it can be an Asian, a black, a white, and every kind of people. So I don't think being having a mixed heritage is a bad thing. So
so that Kevin,
yes,
I used to think like you, but the thing is that I used to think like that when I was younger, and I didn't knew about the realities of life and of racism. So my mother has black blood, so I'm more African. But mixing as a parent, I understand that now that I am a father. You have it's not just about giving your genes; it's about giving your culture, and it's about having your children find their places in the world. And when you are mixed, you you're in between, like you said earlier. You're not really African, and you're not really white or Asian or whatever you are mixed with. No, and so definitely that's because on one side you have white supremacists and uh, other aggressors that are ruthless and discriminating, killing and doing all of this stuff to black people and black culture, black society and black civilization as a whole, to be honest. And on the other side, you have people that are just trying to be nice and trying to be accepted with people that are. It's like you have someone coming into your house, punching you, and doing horrible things to your wife, and you're like, hey, sorry, can I be with your daughter? No, that doesn't seem right. And in my opinion, I will be for mixing and miscegenation when black people are by all means equal and respected as such. And there must not be a rule uh, to weaken black people when it is the case today, like it is the case today. So, what do you think, Brother Azir?
um, I almost agree 100%. I think that was well stated. You expressed yourself, really well. And I agree. The only thing I don't agree with is
Mhm.
like I'll never support miscegenation. I don't care if we become equal. I don't care if African people, when we take our place back as number one, as I feel like on top of everything that you said, I want to echo one of the parts that you said, the part of this man coming in your house and raping your wife and pillaging your fridge and just destroying your house. and then you say, hey, can I marry your daughter? Like the that right there is just that reason alone. We should always be against miscegenation, quote unquote, because if you look back at history, like for example, think of like if you look at right now, say we was 100 years in the future and we was looking back on the 2000s and all of that and seeing the condition of African people and what they was doing right and what they was doing wrong and all of that, right? Um, we will like so think about that if we was looking back. If we
Yeah.
see that interracial, like we would see that if we was looking back at the time right now, 100 years from now, we would see that African people is in last place right now. Like if we just being honest, if we was reading in the book and we was looking at that time, it would say African people was kind of in last place, catching hell, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So for us today, right now, if we look back hundreds of years ago, we would see that when African people was at their best, at the top, the peak, doing the best, it was the least amount of miscegenation. And when Black people's doing their worst and at the bottom, anytime throughout history, miscegenation was at its highest. So we got to take that correlation into account and say, look, no miscegenation or as least as possible is the better answer. Every time we was against this, every time we focused on African women and cultivating African families, and every time African women focused on African men and cultivating African families, we was doing our best.
So
You know, so
yeah. Well, I don't know about that. I don't know enough about history, but I know at least one example that goes along what you are saying. It's the example of Kemet that then became Egypt.
exactly.
It's through miscegenation.
Perfect example. Now, I just want to touch on one thing really quick. And it goes back to what I said at the beginning about understanding that there's levels to this when we're talking about just the whole dynamic of African people and our situation on this planet right now and before and in the future. Is levels to everything. So when we talk about being quote unquote mixed, if you're a quote unquote mixed person and you, number one, marry an African, number two, identify as African, and number three, just the trifecta, kind of do something to help advance African people, which I feel is a duty of all Africans. I'm not just like putting it on mixed people, quote unquote. I feel that's a duty of all Africans. But there's levels to it. Some going to do it on a tiny level, some going to do it on a huge level, like a Marcus Garvey or like Brother Sobukwe or Thomas Sankara or Harriet Tubman, all of these great people. So if you meet those three things as a quote unquote mixed person, especially if it's for a consistent period of time, then you're African. You're recruited, you're down. Like it don't, like all of that specific, that goes out the window. Like everything is kind of black and white, like you either or you're not, but it's to a degree, it's levels to it. Like at some point, you got to come and sit down to the table and have a conversation. Like abortion, for example, you either for abortion or you're against it. But at some point, the people that's against it kind of got to come to the table and say, well, in some instances, it may be permitted. And the people that support abortion, they got to come to the table and be like, well, look, in some instances, it's uncalled for.
Yeah.
You know, so I just wanted to say that.
And now, Kevin, I want to answer you about the Reunion Island and what you said about it being a good thing. In the example of the Reunion Island, it's are you from there? By no?
No, I'm from West Indies.
West Indies, okay. Because in the Reunion Island, it's similar to the West Indies, but it's not exactly the same thing. So when you come in vacation, to Reunion Island, you think like, wow, it's so great. People are living in harmony with each other. Yes, that's true. We do have harmony in Reunion Island. You don't see white people killing black people in Reunion Island. That's true. But you do have colorism in Reunion Island. You do have discrimination. You do have black people, and that leads me to another subject. And the other subject afterward will be are black people from India black or not? But that's another subject. Because in the Reunion Island, the slaves were from Africa and India. And what you will find in Reunion Island that is proof that it's not perfect. It's that you have the wealth. It's all in the white hand, and the poor people are mostly the darker people. So that's the problem. And to me, this very fact is proof that yes, okay, people go along, but they only go along because certain people are at the bottom and certain people are at the top. Yeah. And also people from the Reunion Island are xenophobic against people from the Comore, from Mayotte. So I don't know if you know about Mayotte, Asia, because so Mayotte it's part of the Comore. You know the Comore?
I don't think so.
So the
It
Comore,
may be,
yeah.
you know, it's some of the words that y'all say, you know, you know, it's the westernization. Like you know, some of the words that y'all say I don't fully understand because of the quote unquote accent. And I say quote unquote because, you know, it's not really an accent. It's just that you're from like you speak more like proper than me. Like I don't, you know, I don't like do the whole proper English thing and all of that. You know, I feel like we got to speak more languages than English, but that's a whole nother thing.
I totally agree. I want to learn Swahili. In a few years, I hope I will make this podcast in Swahili.
Oh, that'll be dope. That'll be dope. You know what I was thinking about? Like black books. I saw a family that repatriated to Africa. They moved from America to Africa, and they got a bookstore. And they have, you know, like the Powernomics and Dr. Claude Anderson's books and Dr. Clark and, you know, Dr. Francis Cress Wilson and these different people, Malcolm X autobiography, and, you know, these different books, right? And, you know, a lot of them is from our quote unquote brothers and sisters in America, from America. And I was thinking, what if those authors have their books translated into more African tongues? Like that'll help bridge the gap, you know, with our people, just like us learning Swahili and, you know, learning Twi or you know, some African dialect, like yeah. So that was just some idea that I had, but
wow, that's that's a completely another subject, and that's deep subject.
But you were saying about the people from, what was the place?
Reunion Island.
Oh, okay. So did you finish your thought? I don't think you finished.
I just wanted to add that you have other African islands that are called the Comore Islands, and France a few years ago stole, because French people like to steal things from Africa, stole an island from the Comore, and now it became Mayotte. It became Mayotte, the French island. And so now you have a lot more Maori people coming to Reunion Island, but people from Reunion Island are xenophobic against the Maori people, because most of the Maori people are Muslim and are darker in skin tone than the average Reunion Islander. So it's not all great in Reunion Island. That's all I wanted to say. Yeah, about your idea to have books translated in Swahili and other African languages. I think it's a great idea, but I would also say, why not write these books using African writing system?
Okay, what do you mean by that exactly? When you say African writing system?
Because the alphabet that we are using right now, it's the Latin alphabet, if I'm correct.
Okay, I got you. Oh, so definitely, yeah, we gotta have it in the African writing style too, definitely.
Yeah. And yeah, so I will go on this, but I want to ask Kevin. So what do you think about what I said about Reunion Island?
I think it's difficult. I've never been to Réunion. I know someone that are from Réunion. I know there is the same problem that in from the West Indies, like colorism, racism, because people for example, in Martinique are against Haitian, even if so Haitian is one of the first black nation, I think. And I know there is this kind of problem, but the first question, it was, am I against mixed people, the mixing of race? I think it's no. I think it's no, because if you are not from an Asian woman, a black woman, or a white woman, it's not you to choose. So it's not about race, but it's about love. So it's not a problem. It's not an issue for me. And for Réunion, that's true. That the thing that white people still have are dominant. For example, in Martinique, there is the Béquet that have a lot of money. They are millionaires, even billionaires, because they are on everything. They have like 80% of the waste of the country, and it's
One
not.
second, one second. Asia, the Beke are the white, the
Yes.
descendant of white slave owners.
Yes.
Okay.
And
Go, Kevin.
they have everything. They have the shop. They have the land. They have most of the wealth of the Martinique, for example. And it's true you have to be against that, but I think there is something to change. But for example, Iranian is as well a good example that even if it's not perfect, because not system is perfect, there is a lot of mixed people that live well as ethnicity. They are not black, not Indian, not white. They are from Iranian, and they are comfortable in their skin. So it's kind of a good thing to be comfortable in their skin when you're from a mixed community.
I understand your point of view, and I don't agree, but we don't have to agree on everything.
Yes.
I disagree as well.
But I understand where you're coming from, because from a moral standpoint, morally speaking, yes, I believe people should be able to fall in love with whoever they love, you know. I understand that, but at the meantime, the fact that it causes other political problem,
That's right.
that's why. But yeah, we don't have to have the same opinion, so I understand your point of view. So, oh yeah, about the books written in Swahili and in African writing system. So, are you aware, Kevin and Asia, are you aware that African do have writing systems before colonization?
Yes, but I don't know them. They don't teach us in school what was the African civilization before colonization. That's very sad about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta say the same thing the brother said, brother Kevin. I'm definitely aware, and you know, they just definitely don't teach this in school, and I personally haven't been taught as of yet. I haven't learned, but I definitely know they exist, and they exist. You know, we was the first people writing, period.
Okay. So disclaimer: I don't know how to write any African language, any African writings myself, but I do know about a few African writing systems. And actually, there is more writing systems in Africa than in Europe, and that's fact. So to start in North Africa, you have the Berber people, both black and white, because the Kabyle people actually write using the same as the black Tuareg people, is the Berber Tifinagh. You can, I can write it in the conversation, so you can copy paste if you want to research on Google. The Tifinagh. So I'm checking on Google how you. Oh yeah, okay. Tifinagh. Okay, I'm writing that.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna definitely look into it.
So I'm starting from north to south. You got the
Okay.
Tifinagh,
Mm-hmm.
I wrote it on the chat. Then you have the hieroglyphs, but I figure you already know about the hieroglyphs. I'm not going to write it down. And you actually have the Egyptian hieroglyphs and the Cushitic hieroglyphs. And the Egyptian hieroglyphs actually come from the Cushitic hieroglyphs. So, but I'm not an expert. I invite you to do your own research. Then you have the Demotic, which is the Egyptian alphabet, because the hieroglyphs are, uh, well, it's another writing system, and it's also Egyptian, and it's called the Demotic. I'm writing it down as well.
Okay. Thanks for writing it, because we be needing that spelling.
Yeah. I'm checking on Google to make sure I'm writing it right correctly.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. That's correct. Then, and I just want to say that there is a lot more. And the thing is, why? Because African writings were directly linked with African spirituality, and
All
the conversion of most of Africa to Islam and then Christianity destroyed most of African spirituality. And in the meantime, it also destroyed the African writings that became haram, or in Christianity, I would say that they are uh, satanic or diabolical.
right. What they call it, pagan. That's their word.
Yeah, pagan. And so that's the way that a lot of African writings actually were destroyed. Oh yeah, I forgot a really important one. You have and that's really interesting. If you go to London, there is a big Ethiopian and Eritrean community. And so uh, in Ethiopia and Eritrea, um, they had a writing system that they actually used since the time of the Roman Empire. And they're still writing using that alphabet today. And so if you go to London, or if you go to Ethiopia or to Eritrea, you'll see that everything is written in Ge'ez. So I've sent Ge'ez in the chat. Then, if you go on the east coast of Africa, so there is something, like I said earlier, I told you, you cannot mix with Arab people, because Arab people are a mix of black and white. They are not a distinct race.
Right.
And why is it important? It's because if you go back in time long enough, you'll find that you have an African branch or cousin of the Arabic writing system, because the quote unquote Arab people are indeed African, and therefore the Arabic writing system is actually an African writing system as well. And so you have an African, I would say, version of Arabic that also counts, in my opinion, as an African writing system. Because people on the east coast of Africa, in Tanzania, Kenya, have been writing using this Arabic writing system since as long as the Arabs themselves have been writing it. But today it's mostly political, and that's why there are the privilege of inventing this writing system has been taken away from Africa. Then in Niger, in Ghana, they have their own symbol system. I don't know. I don't know what it's called. So, but you can research it, and I think you're going to find it. But I don't know myself how it's called. And in Nigeria, you have NCBD. And in the Black Panther movie, the writing of Wakanda is actually NCBD from the Igbo people of Nigeria.
Okay.
All right, NCBD.
Okay. NCBD.
And but like I said, I suspect there is much more writing systems, and I suspect that many African tribes have their own specific writing system that got destroyed through uh, religious conversion. And I'm saying this because I'm from Cameroon, and I know in Cameroon that NCBD was used, that and I know of two other writing systems in Cameroon, the Bassa and the Bamum script. So just in Cameroon alone, you have at least four writing systems, because in Cameroon you also have Muslim in the north, so you also have Arabic. So in Cameroon, there was at least four writing systems.
Right. So imagine if it was about 4 in every country, you know. So that's over 100 right there.
Yeah.
No, matter of fact, 4 in every country, that's over 200.
Uh-huh.
All right, 4 times 50 is 200. So 4 times 54, that's, yeah. That's good stuff, brother. I wanted to talk about business for just a quick second.
Yep.
Because you know that's a part of the whole conversation of being woke.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, some of us believe that to be woke, you have to sort of do for self. You know, you have to, if you are gonna be like working for somebody,
Mm-hmm.
they have to be African.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but for the most part, from what I know and the people that I know, most quote unquote woke people look to venture out and do something for self, sell something, produce some type of product to sell some sort of service, get certified in something.
I can't hear you. I think you are frozen. Can you repeat? Because we couldn't hear you for a few minutes, or at least I couldn't hear you.
I couldn't hear neither.
Okay. Okay. Y'all can hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I was talking about, you know, I was just saying that most woke people, quote unquote, that I know or come across look to, you know, sell something or produce some sort of product or, you know, sort of be independent, you know, go into business for themselves. So yeah, I wanted to talk about business. Can you tell us about your business? Like, you know, talk about your business a little bit.
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Welcome Black. That's the travel agency. We had the idea with my wife because she is used to organize a lot of travels, and so we wanted to start a business and having that business benefit to the Black community. And when I say Black community, I'm not talking about Black America, because we are not in America, but about, I would say, global Black Africa. And we want to go back in Cameroon. We want to go back in Africa, and we figured that we have the opportunity to go back because we know our roots, but because of I won't use the word that they say because I think it's insulting, but I will say because of the uh, deportation of African, of free African people to other parts of the world by Europeans, too many of our brothers and sisters have lost the connection to their roots. And so we want uh, to share like African culture and knowledge with our brothers and sisters through our trips to Africa. So here's the business.
Okay, beautiful. Beautiful. See, that's woke right there. That's that's a that's an example of being woke right there. You know, it's being woke is, like I said, there's levels to it. You know, one level is like internal. It's about the knowledge and having the know-how and knowing about spirituality and understanding. You're not your body. Like your spirit is just housed in this body and using it for the time being in this physical plane, and all of that kind of stuff. And also it's the side of the action, like that's, to me, when I say like there's levels to it, I would put the action on a higher level than sort of like the know-how and like the understanding. The action is kind of the next level above that. It's like if it was a video game, the knowledge is level 1, 2, and 3 or whatever, but action is 4, 5, and 6, and like that. So yeah, I commend you on having that idea, because when it comes to Black business, right, that's a whole subject in itself, right? Now, when it comes to Black business, remember, it's the same, like I said earlier. We have to understand everything we talk about when it comes to our people is levels to it. So when it comes to Black business, it's basically 2 levels. You have one level, and that's a Black person that owns a business.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just it. It stops there. But then you have the other level, which is a Black business where they consciously make an effort to use their business in the help, in the advancement and upliftment of African people.
Yeah.
So those is kind of the 2 sides for like a business owner. You're either gonna be a business owner that kind of enrich yourself and make yourself independent, or you're going to be the business owner that is consciously using your business in some way, to help our people at like as a whole on that kind of level. So yeah, I appreciate you for having a business like that. I'm a person that could benefit from that, from your business, because I've never been to Africa. I haven't been there yet, and I definitely want to go. And I understand what you touched on as far as the connection with culture and everything like that. I be imagining, I don't have children yet, so I'm not married yet. I actually just got out of a relationship, beautiful Black woman. It just didn't work out. But I'm not married, don't have children. But I imagine sometimes, since I'm not raising children, I imagine when I was a child, like, wow, imagine if I grew up in America, okay, but imagine if it was things in place where it was more accessible for me as a young Black child in elementary school or something to take a trip to Africa and be told that that's my roots, and be shown African culture as far as food and dance and music and just our African way. Imagine how different my life could have turned out, in the lives of a lot of African people that just don't have that connection just off sheer location. Some of us don't have the connection to African culture just simply because, well, it's not simple, but the reason is because we weren't born there and none of our parents were from there, and they didn't, teach us about it. And so we just never been there. And it's just like, just that alone could have a break in connection.
Yeah. Thank you. I really appreciate the compliments. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I had a question real quick, brother. I just wanted to clarify. Where are you located?
Right now, I live in Paris, in France, and I was born there, but I'm trying.
Wait, you live where? It
I
kind of
live
went
in
out.
Paris, in France.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay, fine.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'm in Brooklyn, New York, in the United States. I was born and raised here, lived here all my life.
Okay. So I want to wrap up the conversation. So I want to thank you both for joining. And so can you, before we end the conversation, give a conclusion of this whole conversation and what you've gotten from it?
Brother Kevin, you want to go or you want me to go?
Go first if you want.
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
You can go first.
All right. Well, I just thank y'all brothers for y'all time. I understand that time is our most valuable commodity, and I never take lightly any sort of African discussion such as this, whether we have differences of opinion on one thing or most things or two things or whatever. I definitely appreciate us just having the interest to come to the table and have these discussions, because it shows, just that alone, it shows a level of care, and that's what we need. We need that that level of care and passion. That kind of has to be the foundation and base of what we do, and throughout all of these discussions and the businesses that we create and the relationships that we have romantically and not romantically, the places we go and all these different things, it has to come out of a basis of love for African people and African culture and Africa. And, I appreciate you two brothers for having that. And I'm looking forward to, next discussion. And I definitely learned some things from both of y'all. And I definitely appreciate that, because if it's one thing that I sort of demand that I leave any conversation or dialogue, sit down, that I give my time to, especially some nice time that we kind of gave today. The one thing I want coming from that conversation is that we both learn something and we both leave, a little better person than we was before the conversation started. So you brothers achieved that for me, and I hope y'all got the same out of it.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think I learned a lot from you, and thanks for your time from both of you. because even if from some issue I disagreed, but I think that we have to be aware about our Black community and to have some knowledge about it because it's very important. And if we don't do themselves, nobody will do because, as you see, we don't teach in school what is the Black community, what is the Black African knowledge. So we have to do for ourselves to learn about it. And I learned a lot of things thanks to you. And that's it. It's very important to learn about your Black heritage.
Okay. Thank you, Kevin.
Yeah, thank you. I shaded that, brother.
So I'll do my own now. So thanks for both of you for joining. Kevin, I really appreciated like your kind of I would say more positive opinion, and I really wish that in the future people can you know, love who they want, no matter the color. And I really like respect you for being able to believe that even through the realities of today. I think it takes some kind of optimism to think like that. So that's what I took from you today. And Brother Azia, am I saying your name correctly?
Yeah, it's not that important though. I don't you know, I don't trip off the name thing. This is not even my name, honestly, you know, because it's not African, and I respect my mother and my father, you know, and love them both dearly, but they just didn't have the knowledge, or they would have gave me my true name, which is an African name. So, you know, go ahead, brother.
My son has an African name. His name is Zeyan. This means thunder in Ewondo, the language of my dad.
Nice.
Like I really appreciate your American point of view, and I really appreciate that you were like honest and really going deep inside of what you are saying, and being open-minded, and also being like realistic and not and having the courage, especially in those times where you can get you know, harassed and insulted on social media for saying that that to be a woman you have to have a vagina, and if you have a penis you're not a woman, you know. So, you know, sharing your opinion, especially when it's not the opinion of you know, the mass media, it takes courage, and I appreciate that. And I think it makes the conversation in the Black community move forward.
Thanks a lot for that, brother. I appreciate it.
So I have to go, and so do you want to say another thing before I leave?
It's fun. Thanks a lot for the conversation.
Thanks, Kevin. I appreciate it.
No, I'm good, brother. Appreciate the conversation, and you know, if I could tune in next week, then I'm definitely going to be tuning in.
Great. I'm looking forward to having you next week.
Thanks.
All right, family. Peace.
See you, family.
See you. Thanks.